Jane Mansfield, The Pink Palace, Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. From the moment you glimpse its bubblegum-hued exterior, Jane Mansfield's Pink Palace conveys both the whimsy and the boldness that defined its iconic owner. Nestled in the heart of Beverly Hills, this flamboyant residence first caught public attention in the early 1960s. Initially built in 1929, the property transformed into a pastel fantasy under Mansfield's guidance, complete with a heart-shaped swimming pool and cupids adorning the walls. According to a 1967 report in the Los Angeles Times, the mansion was a favored spot for Hollywood gatherings, replete with neon signs and pink fur-lined bathrooms that sparked endless gossip in tabloids of the era. The design aesthetic was heavily influenced by Mansfield's love of extravagant decor. Think pink carpets, lavish chandeliers, and mirrored ceilings. Biographers note that the star was deeply involved in choosing every detail, from the cherub statues dotting the lawn to the bright pink fixtures in the kitchen. Neighbors often shared with local journalists that the home's nightly parties drew a steady stream of limousines and paparazzi. Post-Mansfield's tragic death in 1967, the property changed hands multiple times, each owner attempting to restore or downplay its audacious style. Reports from real estate blogs in the 1980s mentioned that prospective buyers were both charmed and overwhelmed by the all-pink design scheme. Eventually, the Pink Palace fell into disrepair, with repeated renovations failing to recapture its original flair. By the late 1990s, portions of the iconic pink facade began to fade and crack. Although it was demolished in 2002, stories of mirrored fireplaces and pink champagne parties continue to appear in celebrity memoirs and historical Hollywood retrospectives, cementing its place as a unique chapter in Beverly Hills lore. 2. Bob Hope, Toluca Lake Estate, Toluca Lake, Los Angeles. Hidden behind tall hedges and perched along the serene shores of Toluca Lake stood Bob Hope's beloved estate, an architectural marvel that once symbolized mid-century extravagance. This stately home, designed in part by John Elgin Wolfe, encompassed over 5 acres of pristine lawns, golf course-grade putting greens, and a personal lakefront view. In a 1970s feature from Architectural Digest, the estate was lauded for its sweeping interior spaces, including a grand marble foyer where Hope frequently greeted Hollywood's elite during charitable galas. Bob Hope, a prolific entertainer and philanthropist, took pride in customizing the property to suit his comedic yet sophisticated persona. From a private screening room equipped with state-of-the-art projectors to a lavish trophy room displaying awards and golf memorabilia, every corner exuded Hollywood's golden sparkle. Neighbors often spoke about how Hope used the sprawling lawns to host charity golf tournaments, drawing in sports legends and celebrities alike. Over the years, the estate was expanded multiple times, incorporating a guest house to accommodate visiting actors, politicians, and even members of royalty. Despite its grandeur, the Toluca Lake Estate saw periods of neglect after Hope's passing in 2003. According to local news outlets, certain wings of the mansion remained shuttered, and rumors circulated about water damage to the lower level. An entire staff was reportedly required just to maintain the exterior gardens, though a portion of the property's once manicured landscaping eventually grew wild. While not entirely abandoned in the strictest sense, the estate's slow retreat from the limelight marked the end of an era for Toluca Lake, leaving behind a memory of Bob Hope's larger-than-life presence. 3. Lucille Ball, Beverly Hills Home, Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. A white stucco facade greeted curious onlookers at the gates of Lucille Ball's Beverly Hills sanctuary, a residence that quietly encapsulated the comedic legend's personal life away from the screen. Built in the 1920s and purchased by Ball in the post-I Love Lucy boom, the home quickly evolved into a focal point of Hollywood gossip columns. Journalists from The Hollywood Reporter often highlighted the comedic actress's penchant for hosting lively garden parties, where Frank Sinatra and Judy Garland were occasional guests. But beyond the laughter-filled gatherings, the mansion was Ball's cherished retreat, a fact underscored in many of her biographies. Inside, plush carpets and ornamental chandeliers complemented the star's refined taste, shedding any assumption that Lucille's real-life world mirrored her slapstick on-screen persona. Letters archived at the Paley Center for Media detail how Ball commissioned hand-painted murals inspired by her various movie roles to adorn certain corridors. As decades passed, updates were made to the property, including a sunroom that overlooked an expansive backyard, where Ball reportedly spent hours rehearsing lines or reading scripts under the California sun. After Lucille Ball's passing in 1989, the future of this Beverly Hills property became uncertain. Maintenance fees soared, and parts of the estate, particularly the detached pool house, began showing signs of age. Local preservationists voiced concerns about potential demolition, noting the home's cultural significance. Although some parts have been restored or sold off in sections, the core of Lucille Ball's home struggled to recapture the vivacity it once hosted, gradually slipping into a more subdued state. Even so, countless Hollywood aficionados still regard it as a quietly iconic monument to television's golden era. 4. Frank Sinatra, Twin Palms Estate, Palm Springs, California. Conceived by architect E. Stewart Williams, the Twin Palms Estate in Palm Springs is more than just another mid-century marvel. It's a testament to Frank Sinatra's profound influence on both music and modern architecture. Erected in 1947, the home signaled Sinatra's arrival as a dominant cultural force. Local Palm Springs newspapers raved about its sleek, minimalist lines, its open floor plan, and the dual palm trees that gave the property its iconic name. Visitors often recall how the living room's floor-to-ceiling glass windows showcase breathtaking desert sunsets, seamlessly blending indoor luxury with the Coachella Valley's rugged landscape. This estate wasn't just Sinatra's desert escape, it was also rumored to be the site of fiery parties and passionate gatherings. A 1950 feature in Photoplay magazine documented a star-studded New Year's Eve bash that included the likes of Ava Gardner and Lana Turner. Music equipment scattered around the main living area hinted at impromptu jam sessions, with Sinatra sometimes rehearsing his next big hit while friends lounged poolside. Over the years, the property underwent minor renovations to keep pace with contemporary comforts, adding a recording booth and an expanded guest suite. However, after Sinatra sold the Twin Palms estate, subsequent owners struggled to preserve its unique architectural identity. Periodic neglect led to issues like cracks in the signature piano-shaped swimming pool and compromised roofing. Although not completely abandoned, local realtors in the 1990s described the estate as in dire need of restoration in property listings. Fortunately, a new wave of mid-century modern enthusiasts eventually recognized its historical importance, fueling efforts to revitalize the home. Today, Twin Palms stands as both a cultural relic and a cautionary tale of how easily Hollywood landmarks can slip through the cracks of time. Dean Martin, Trousale Estates Home, Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. Hidden away on a quiet cul-de-sac in Trousale Estates, Dean Martin's one-time residence epitomized a suave, mid-century style that paralleled his cool public persona. Constructed in the late 1950s, the property quickly attracted attention for its dramatic floor-to-ceiling windows, spacious open layout, and strategic vantage point overlooking the shimmering Los Angeles skyline. According to a 1963 piece in Variety, Martin favored modern furnishings, choosing streamlined sofas and chic lighting fixtures that complemented the home's sleek architecture. Among the Rat Pack, Dean Martin was renowned for a laid-back charm, and his personal abode reflected that energy. Weekend poolside soirees drew celebrities ranging from Sammy Davis Jr. to Elizabeth Montgomery. Biographers indicate that Martin's taste for relaxed luxury extended to a home bar stocked with top-shelf liquors, a staple for the singer famously known as the King of Cool. Music was never far away either. A baby grand piano adorned the living area, and rumor has it that late-night jam sessions sometimes drifted through the neighborhood. Following Martin's departure from the property in the 1970s, the house changed hands multiple times, with each new owner adding or subtracting pieces of its original design. Some real estate blog posts point to neglected landscaping, citing overgrown hedges and defunct water features. Despite these lapses, the home retained enough of its mid-century allure that it remained on the radar of preservation enthusiasts. Even so, local rumor had it that certain sections of the estate, particularly the guest wing, sat unused for years, preserving faint echoes of the era when Dean Martin's infectious croon filled the corridors. 6. Elizabeth Taylor. Bel Air Mansion, Bel Air, Los Angeles. Set against the rolling hills of Bel Air, Elizabeth Taylor's lavish mansion transcended the realm of mere real estate to become an emblem of her legendary glamour. Acquired in the early 1960s at a time when Taylor's career soared with films like Cleopatra, the property featured expansive gardens dotted with exotic flowers in a tranquil koi pond. According to archival editions of Vogue, the actress was particularly fond of adding personal touches throughout the estate, ranging from priceless art acquisitions to custom-built closets for her famous jewelry collection. The home itself was a study in European elegance, replete with ornate moldings, crystal chandeliers, and hand-painted ceilings reminiscent of old-world palaces. Local interior designers, who visited in the 1980s, described a dining room set with Victorian-era furniture, where Taylor frequently entertained international luminaries, from business moguls to royalty. A lavish marble staircase dominated the foyer, leading to private quarters that boasted panoramic views of the city below. However, after multiple marriages and shifting personal priorities, Taylor eventually parted ways with the mansion. Years of sporadic upkeep by subsequent owners led to visible decline, with newspapers noting instances of structural damage and leaks in the roof. Property records from the early 2000s indicated that attempts to modernize the interior were met with red tape due to the estate's historical significance. As time wore on, the once magical gardens grew wild, reclaiming parts of the grounds. Although not entirely deserted, the mansion slipped off Hollywood's radar, quietly awaiting a grand revival that, so far, has never fully materialized. 7. Marian Davies, Santa Monica Beach House, Santa Monica, California. Marian Davies, famed actress and companion to publishing tycoon William Randolph Hearst, once held court in a sumptuous Santa Monica beach house that rivaled the glitz of Hearst Castle. Perched along the Pacific coast, the property initially boasted over 100 rooms, a testament to Davies' love for extravagant hosting. A 1931 article in the Los Angeles Examiner described the estate as a playground for Hollywood's finest, complete with multiple dining salons, a ballroom, and a lavish indoor swimming pool that featured floor-to-ceiling murals evoking ancient Roman baths. Throughout the 1930s, the beach house became the setting for high-profile soirees that regularly made headlines. Visitors would arrive to find costume waitstaff, lavish buffets, and orchestrated fireworks lighting up the evening sky. Gossip columnists of the period reveled in every detail, from Davies' rotating selection of couture gowns to the star-studded guest lists that often included Clark Gable, Carole Lombard, and Charlie Chaplin. In diaries published posthumously, Davies admitted she relished the role of hostess, ensuring every guest felt pampered and entertained. After Hearst's financial troubles and Davies' eventual decline in film roles, portions of the estate were sold off or repurposed. By the 1950s, rumors circulated that the once grand mansion was sectioned into smaller units, some of which fell into disrepair. Local authorities briefly considered demolishing the complex, prompting historians to lobby for its preservation. Today, part of the original site has been transformed into a public facility known as the Annenberg Community Beach House. Though far from abandoned, the original grandeur has faded, offering only hints of the grand Hollywood parties that once defined Marian Davies' oceanfront wonderland. 8. Marilyn Monroe, Brentwood Home, 5th Helena Drive, Los Angeles. Tucked away on a cul-de-sac in Brentwood, Marilyn Monroe's final residence tells a story of both serenity and sorrow. Purchased in early 1962 for just over $77,000, the Spanish-style bungalow was the first home Monroe ever owned under her own name. Contemporary newspaper clippings from the Los Angeles Times mention the star's desire to craft a cozy refuge far from the glare of paparazzi. With exposed wooden beams, terracotta tiles, and a modest backyard pool, the property exuded a warmth contrasting starkly with Monroe's high-octane celebrity life. Inside, Monroe added personal flourishes that revealed her softer side: hand-picked Mexican tiles, a compact library filled with literature on psychology and poetry, and delicate drapes she'd personally chosen during a shopping trip to Tijuana. Friends later recalled in magazine interviews how the actress would spend afternoons in the garden, sipping tea and rehearsing lines. Tragically, Monroe passed away in this very home under circumstances that remain the subject of countless conspiracy theories. While not abandoned in the traditional sense, the Brentwood property faced uncertain stewardship in the decades following Monroe's death. Multiple owners alternated between preservation and renovation, sometimes clashing over how much of Monroe's influence should remain. Certain accounts from real estate agents in the late 1970s indicate that water damage and termite issues plagued the structure, leading to partial restorations that stripped away original details. Even so, the property remains a pilgrimage site for devoted fans who still leave flowers by the gate, maintaining a subtle reminder of Hollywood's most enduring icon within the quiet Brentwood neighborhood. 9. Alla Nazimova, Garden of Allah, Hotel, Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood. Established by the trailblazing silent film actress Alla Nazimova, the Garden of Allah Hotel was once the beating heart of Hollywood's early creative scene. Originally Nazimova's private residence, the Sunset Boulevard property was expanded in 1927 to include a series of villas surrounding a grand mansion. The Los Angeles Record described it as a bohemian enclave where writers like F. Scott Fitzgerald and Dorothy Parker mingled with emerging film stars, giving birth to legendary poolside gatherings fueled by spirited conversation and occasional scandal. Nazimova's flair for drama was evident in the property's eclectic design. Lush tropical landscaping, ornate fountains, and curved archways gave the hotel an almost Arabian Nights feel, mirroring her theatrical style. Over time, the Garden of Allah became synonymous with unconventional Hollywood living. In diaries and letters later published in biography form, guests recounted how the actress herself would sometimes appear at the pool in flamboyant costumes, entertaining onlookers with impromptu performances or comedic sketches. However, as Hollywood evolved in the 1940s and 1950s, the Garden of Allah struggled to keep pace with newer, more modern accommodations. Financial woes mounted, and many of the bungalows fell into decay. By the late 1950s, newspapers reported that the once vibrant property was largely vacant, its once sparkling pool drained and cracked. In 1959, the Garden of Allah was demolished to make room for commercial development, an event bemoaned by artists who mourned the passing of Hollywood's free-spirited golden age. Today, only anecdotes and photographs remain, capturing the essence of a place that once echoed with laughter, creative sparks, and a pioneering actress's singular vision. To our Betty White, Brentwood home, Brentwood, Los Angeles. Modest yet filled with warmth, Betty White's longtime Brentwood home stood in stark contrast to the opulent estates more commonly associated with Hollywood legends. Acquired in the 1960s, this traditional-style property reflected White's practical, down-to-earth sensibility. Local interviews published around 1980 described the home's inviting front porch and well-tended gardens, where White could occasionally be seen interacting with neighbors or walking her beloved dogs. Inside, the decor highlighted White's lifelong advocacy for animal welfare, with carefully placed pet-friendly rugs and low-lying furniture to accommodate her canine companions. A den lined with awards and memorabilia from The Mary Tyler Moore Show and The Golden Girls hinted at her storied career. Yet the room's comfortable seating and well-thumbed books testified to White's preference for cozy evenings at home rather than lavish Hollywood parties. Biographers noted that the actress hosted intimate gatherings for close friends, serving homemade casseroles in lieu of catered haute cuisine. In her later years, White maintained a private lifestyle, and as a result, certain areas of the house remained less updated. Neighbors who spoke to reporters after White's passing in 2021 recalled that some rooms seemed frozen in time, reminiscent of an earlier era of Los Angeles living. When the property went on the market, potential buyers discovered minor structural issues like outdated wiring and plumbing, a reflection of its age rather than outright abandonment. Though no longer occupied, the Brentwood home retains the gentle spirit of its former owner, remembered as a Hollywood legend who cherished simplicity over spectacle. 11. Michael Jackson, Havenhurst, Encino, Los Angeles, California. Amid the suburban calm of Encino sits Havenhurst, a sprawling compound that served as the nerve center for the Jackson family's meteoric rise in the entertainment world. Acquired in the early 1970s, the property underwent significant transformations as Michael Jackson's solo career took flight. News articles in Billboard from the 1980s recount how Jackson recorded demo tracks for Thriller and Bad within the mansion's makeshift studio, turning quiet Encino nights into creative laboratories of pop music innovation. Beyond its musical significance, Havenhurst was something of a wonderland, featuring whimsical touches like a Snow White diorama, exotic pets, and a private theater where the family previewed music videos and upcoming projects. According to a 1984 report in the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, the interiors were opulently decorated with lavish curtains, crystal chandeliers, and plush carpets customized to Michael's exacting standards. Yet despite this grandeur, the estate was also a familial home, where siblings gathered for birthdays and holiday celebrations. After Michael Jackson moved to Neverland Ranch in the late 1980s, Havenhurst saw intermittent use. Relatives stayed on the property, but parts of the mansion reportedly received little upkeep. In some corners, dust collected on gold-plated accents, and the once meticulously maintained gardens started to show signs of overgrowth. A 2012 article in a popular celebrity blog mentioned ongoing renovation plans, but neighbors occasionally whispered that the estate no longer carried the buzzing energy it once did. While not technically abandoned, Havenhurst remains a half-frozen monument to a family that reshaped the global music landscape. 12. Frank Sinatra, Feralone Estate, Chatsworth, Los Angeles, California. William Pereira, a leading architect of the mid-20th century, designed Frank Sinatra's Feralone Estate as an ode to sleek geometry and high-end living in the rustic expanse of Chatsworth. Unveiled in the 1950s, this mid-century modern jewel sprawled across a hillside, offering panoramic views of the Santa Susana Mountains. Contemporary accounts in the Los Angeles Daily News documented Sinatra's penchant for hosting A-list gatherings, where Hollywood movers and shakers hobnobbed beside an angular pool that mirrored the home's sharp lines. Inside, the floor-to-ceiling windows, polished stone floors, and minimalist furnishings projected a refined, contemporary vibe. Sinatra reportedly commissioned custom sound systems in multiple rooms, ensuring his music flowed throughout the property. Celebrities like Marilyn Monroe and Judy Garland were rumored to have attended intimate soirees here, adding to the estate's mystique. By the mid-1960s, Sinatra's personal life and professional commitments took him away from Feralone, and the estate changed hands over the years. Even so, Sinatra's legacy lingered in design choices that new owners struggled to maintain. Over time, the once pristine landscaping became a challenge to preserve, and local realtors remarked that certain portions of the estate fell into neglect, with cracked pavements and worn facades. Feralone's star power briefly reignited in the early 2000s when it appeared on the market for around $5 million, but restoration efforts proved costly. Though private buyers have stepped in, some corners remain untouched, leaving behind subtle whispers of rat-pack decadence in the quiet Chatsworth Hills. 13. Audrey Hepburn, Colonial Revival Estate, Holmby Hills, Los Angeles, California. Tucked away in Holmby Hills is the Colonial Revival Estate that Audrey Hepburn once shared with her then-husband, actor Mel Ferrer. Originally designed by the famed architect Paul R. Williams, the mansion's classical columns, symmetrical facade, and manicured gardens evoked an old-school elegance reminiscent of Hepburn's refined on-screen persona. Historical real estate listings from the late 1950s depict the estate as an expansive sanctuary, complete with marble-floored foyers and high ceilings illuminated by ornate chandeliers. In a 1960 interview with Harper's Bazaar, Hepburn spoke fondly of her desire for privacy and tranquility, a yearning reflected in the estate's hidden courtyards, where she reportedly spent mornings reading scripts or practicing dance routines. Friends of the couple, as noted in personal letters later donated to the Margaret Herrick Library, recounted elaborate dinner parties that showcased Hepburn's unassuming grace. The property also boasted a swimming pool encircled by lush hedges, providing a secluded spot for late afternoon swims away from paparazzi. After the marriage dissolved, Hepburn distanced herself from Hollywood for stretches of time, and the Colonial Revival estate was eventually sold. Later owners struggled to maintain the property's grandeur, facing hefty costs for roof repairs and landscaping. Real estate columns in the 1980s noted water damage in certain wings, while the gardens, once curated to perfection, grew tangled in the absence of full-time caretakers. Although sections have since been renovated, pockets of the estate still bear the patina of neglect, echoing a bygone era when Audrey Hepburn's timeless poise set the tone for high society in Holmby Hills. 14. Helen Hunt, Spanish-style home, Brentwood Park, Los Angeles, California. Built in 1931 and rumored to have once housed Greta Garbo, the Spanish-style home, later owned by Helen Hunt, boasts a rich tapestry of Hollywood lore. With imported French stone floors and elegantly arched hallways, the property featured a distinctly European flair that captivated the Academy Award-winning actress. Sources like Architectural Digest in the late 1990s highlighted Hunt's commitment to preserving the home's original design elements, from handcrafted terracotta roof tiles to hand-painted ceramic accents adorning the kitchen walls. This Brentwood Park gem sprawled across carefully landscaped grounds, featuring a garden filled with vibrant bougainvillea and a quaint courtyard fountain reminiscent of old Andalusian haciendas. Hunt reportedly hosted cozy gatherings for fellow actors, where conversation flowed beneath wrought iron chandeliers and classical music echoed through high-ceiling rooms. Despite the star power attached to it, the estate managed to keep a low profile, reflecting Hunt's private lifestyle. However, as market trends fluctuated and the actress's career path shifted, the Spanish-style home saw periods of minimal upkeep. Real estate listings in the early 2000s hinted at deteriorating sections of the property, including cracks in the courtyard fountain and a once lush garden now sparsely maintained. Some prospective buyers noted the challenge of modernizing a historic structure without losing its authenticity. While not entirely abandoned, the home's lesser-used rooms grew dusty and underfurnished, symbolizing the struggle to balance preservation with practicality. Yet the old-world charm remains unmistakable, a standing tribute to Hollywood's cyclical dance between grandeur and neglect. 15. John Stamos, Calabasas Estate, Calabasas, California. During his Full House heyday, John Stamos invested in a Calabasas estate that stood as a testament to the flashy, sometimes eccentric tastes of late 1980s television stars. Reports from local architecture blogs reveal that the property was designed with a free-flowing layout and included an opulent foyer decked out in polished marble. Rumor has it that the estate boasted gold-clad toilets, a quirk often mentioned in celebrity gossip columns of the time. Though Stamos was primarily known for his squeaky-clean sitcom persona, his home was surprisingly glamorous, featuring a dedicated glam room with professional lighting rigs. Close friends of the actor, cited in entertainment magazines, often talked about impromptu jam sessions that would take place in the fully equipped music studio, complete with guitars lining the walls. A modest tennis court and a lagoon-style pool further heightened the estate's appeal, turning it into a mini-resort within the Calabasas Hills. After the 1990s, Stamos's priorities shifted, and the estate underwent several ownership changes. Some of the flashy installations, like the gold fixtures, lost their sheen and fell into disrepair. By the early 2000s, real estate articles mentioned multiple attempts to put the property up for sale, though prospective buyers were deterred by the significant renovation costs needed. Over time, the estate's lavish gardens became overgrown, and the once tricked-out music studio stood silent. Ultimately, the Calabasas estate, while never fully deserted, became a quieter, less vibrant place, a curious monument to the era when sitcom stars reigned supreme in suburban Los Angeles. 16. Rachel McAdams, Palm Springs-style home, Woollahra, Sydney, Australia. When Rachel McAdams briefly relocated to Sydney for a film project, she rented a mid-century Palm Springs-style home in the upscale suburb of Woollahra, an arrangement first reported by the Daily Telegraph. Though an unexpected choice for the classic architecture of Sydney's eastern suburbs, the property's retro-modern flair quickly grabbed local attention. The home featured whitewashed walls, geometric accents, and large glass doors that seamlessly opened onto a manicured pool deck. Rumors circulated in Australian real estate circles that McAdams appreciated the blend of vintage design with state-of-the-art smart home technology. Curiously, the interior decor departed from traditional Aussie aesthetics, favoring low-slung furniture, clean lines, and bright pops of color reminiscent of 1960s California. The actress was said to have used the property as both a personal sanctuary and an informal meeting space for script readings. According to neighbors interviewed by local blogs, McAdams often arrived back from set late at night, her silhouette briefly visible through the property's striking floor-to-ceiling windows. Once production wrapped and McAdams returned to North America, the home saw limited occupancy. The owners, faced with high maintenance costs tied to the vintage design and specialized landscaping, reportedly left sections of the estate unused. By the time the property re-entered the rental market, potential tenants found that certain high-tech systems were outdated and in need of overhaul. Though still structurally sound, portions of the interior now bear subtle signs of disuse. An odd fate for a dwelling that once housed a Hollywood star seeking a slice of Palm Springs ambiance halfway across the globe. 17. The Weekend, Abel Tesfaye. Bel Air Mansion, Bel Air, Los Angeles, California. Acquired by Abel Tesfaye, better known as The Weekend, for a staggering $70 million. This Bel Air mansion represents a newer face of Hollywood's luxury real estate scene. Yet it, too, has experienced stretches of emptiness. Spanning approximately 33,000 square feet, the estate was initially touted by property sites for its expansive mountain and city views, a spa-like indoor pool, and an on-site movie theater equipped with the latest projection technology. A 2021 feature in Architectural Digest highlighted the mansion's minimalist design, relying on sleek glass walls and hidden LED lighting to create a futuristic atmosphere. Despite the singer's cutting-edge aesthetic, the property still pays homage to classic Hollywood opulence with lavish marble floors, chandeliers and strategic focal points, and a grand staircase that sweeps through the central lobby. Local paparazzi images occasionally captured Tesfaye hosting small gatherings, although these events seem more discreet than the raucous parties once synonymous with Bel Air. A private recording studio was rumored to exist in a hidden wing, allowing the musician to work on new tracks in solitude. However, the mansion's sheer scale and elaborate systems require constant maintenance. As the Weekend's touring schedule picked up, certain areas of the house went rarely used. Contractors cited in real estate columns suggested that unoccupied guest suites in the auxiliary living quarters experienced issues like dust accumulation and humidity imbalance, leading to minor damage over time. Though certainly not condemned, the Bel Air mansion's sporadic occupancy underscores a paradox of modern celebrity life. Even the grandest, most high-tech residences can lapse into partial neglect when their owners are perpetually on the move. 18. Charlie Chaplin, Summit Drive House, Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. Sitting high above Beverly Hills on Summit Drive was a mansion tied to silent film icon Charlie Chaplin, a property less mythic than his studios, but significant in illustrating Chaplin's move into Hollywood's residential elite. Purchased sometime in the 1920s, the Spanish Colonial Revival House featured a courtyard with ornate fountains, elaborate wrought iron fixtures, and a rooftop patio that offered striking views of the city below. Early accounts in the now-defunct Hollywood Tatler gushed about evening parties, where Chaplin hosted writers, directors, and emerging stars, all enthralled by the comedic genius's wit. Chaplin's diaries, later referenced in several biographies, make note of the house's pivotal role in social networking. Key collaborations and script revisions for films like City Lights reportedly took place in a small study near the main foyer. Chaplin, never one for ostentatious displays, decorated modestly with period furniture, favoring warm-toned textiles and simple, elegant artwork. A private screening room allowed Chaplin to review dailies from his ongoing projects without leaving home. Financial scrutiny and political tensions eventually forced Chaplin to spend lengthy periods abroad. Caretakers managed the property in his absence, but sporadic oversight led to noticeable decline. By the 1950s, local newspapers mentioned structural damage, including leaky roofs and decaying wood columns. A change in ownership brought sporadic renovations that clashed with the home's original design. Though not truly deserted, many of its corridors remain sealed off for decades, preserving a fleeting glimpse of early Hollywood's transitional years when silent film ruled and talkies were just emerging on the horizon. 19th, Rudolph Valentino, Falcon Lair, Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles. Perched on a hillside in Benedict Canyon, Falcon Lair stands as one of the most famous relics of Hollywood's silent era. Built and once inhabited by the legendary Latin lover, Rudolph Valentino. Conceived in 1923, the house was an architectural spectacle, a white stucco Spanish-style mansion with a prominent circular tower that soared above the surrounding hills. According to a feature in Photoplay magazine, Valentino's love for Arabian decor influenced the interior, where he combined Moorish arches, intricate tile work, and exotic tapestries to form a romantic retreat. Valentino's star power drew many luminaries to Falcon Lair's lavish dinners, replete with courses inspired by Mediterranean cuisine. Often, these evenings ended with impromptu dance performances in the Grand Salon, where Middle Eastern instruments blended with Hollywood chatter. Tragically, Valentino died young in 1926, after which rumors circulated that the grief-stricken spirit of the actor roamed the halls. Gossip columns perpetuated ghostly anecdotes, fueling public intrigue and ensuring that Falcon Lair became a focal point for both admirers and the merely curious. Over the years, ownership passed through the hands of socialites, entrepreneurs, and fellow actors. Sporadic renovations preserved some of the grander spaces, but the cost and complexity of maintaining such a historically and architecturally distinctive property led to periods of profound neglect. A 1980s article in the Los Angeles Herald highlighted leaking roofs and crumbling walls, forcing many rooms into disuse. Attempts to fully restore Falcon Lair have been hampered by conflicting visions, whether to maintain its original Valentino-era mystique or modernize it for contemporary living. The result is an uneasy balance, a half-slumbering monument to silent film's most iconic heartthrob. 20. Judy Garland, Stone Canyon Estate, Bel Air, Los Angeles. Legend has it that Judy Garland's Stone Canyon Estate was both a personal fortress and a reflection of her enduring stardom, nestled in the leafy enclaves of Bel Air. Initially constructed in the late 1930s, the home underwent a series of expansions in the 1940s when Garland's career soared after the success of The Wizard of Oz. Variety magazine articles from the era detailed the property's exquisite landscaping, including tiered gardens that cascaded towards a secluded koi pond. The estate's English Tudor-style facade, complete with half-timber detailing and arched doorways, stood out among the Mediterranean and Spanish designs more common in the neighborhood. Inside, Garland's touches were everywhere, from the baby grand piano in the living room to the custom-built closets that housed her stage costumes. Family members recalled how she would rehearse songs late into the night, her voice echoing down corridors lined with framed movie posters. At the height of her fame, Garland hosted lavish holiday parties here, inviting co-stars, directors, and close friends to enjoy an evening of live music and sumptuous feasts. Over time, however, her financial struggles and battles with studio contracts led to prolonged absences from the estate. Following Garland's untimely death in 1969, Stone Canyon Estate drifted through multiple owners who wrestled with preserving its storied past. A number of structural issues surfaced as the property aged: rotting wood beams, outdated wiring, and an overgrown garden that masked the once pristine paths. Although segments of the estate have been partially restored, keeping the memory of Garland's powerful voice and radiant screen presence alive, other areas remain in a muted, ghostly state, gently cradling the echoes of Hollywood's golden age without offering any grand finale.